quick question. While you're up there and pre-George Floyd and you guys are doing proactive stuff, were the conversations ever had are some of the actions from us slowing down proactivity, are us not backing our officers? I know that I don't want to say it that way, but are some of the decisions we're making, are we causing a lack of proactive officers?
We had not had an incident in the city of Atlanta that had created like broad unrest in the ranks type thing,
Like being gun shy.
Yeah, no one had been arrested for anything, or if they had, it had been so clearly wrong that whatever they did didn't really create the kind of problems that got created. Really, George Floyd just changed police work so significantly,
right?
And we hadn't had an event like that. We had one controversial discipline where the troops were in wild disagreement with the chief about the punishment related to what had actually occurred. But it still didn't keep them from wanting to go out and do their own thing. They were just, they were unhappy about it, but not unhappy enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think if your agency has one of those landmark events, that's really what George Floyd is. And normally George Floyd would have been contained to the city in which it occurred in. That was like one of the unusual times, one of the few times where unrest spread about an incident that occurred in one place that didn't occur. Atlanta, we lost 17. They burned up 17 police cars. We had nothing to do with George Floyd.
Really?
Yes.
Damn. I didn't know that. So,
but none of that had happened. So we didn't have lots of we would have some conversations about, are your people motivated? Why are your stats down? If your stats are down, was there the motors lieutenant might come in and go, well, my guys had 3 days of training. Right. So it's an unusual week. We'll be back to normal next week kind of thing. You just need to be able to explain why there might be an anomaly in the numbers at that time, because there weren't any real events that were creating problems. Right. And I can talk about how we kind of we even changed our instructions from a command level post George Floyd because we had to. Really? Yeah.
No shit. Okay. So after George Floyd happened, what was the discussions?
So by the time George Floyd happens, I'm a major, and I'm in my final assignment as a major before my next promotion, which was running the 5th precinct, zone 5, which is downtown Midtown of Atlanta. So the skyscraper portion of the city, essentially. It's also the protest portion of the city, because at the time CNN's worldwide headquarters was located downtown.
No shit.
Yes.
Oh fuck. Sorry.
So it's and actually Centennial headquarters overlooks the park where the Centennial Olympic bombing occurred during the Olympics.
Oh. Okay.
So it's at Centennial Olympic Park, or otherwise known to cops as COP because the word's too long, and Marietta. And so that's where our George Floyd protest took place. And I remember it was interesting. I went to I had gone to a retirement luncheon with some buddies of mine, and one of them was the deputy chief for field operations, who was the guy who was retiring. And we go to lunch, and I'm like, I told my buddies at the table, I'm going to go down to this protest. We're not, but I wasn't expecting anything to go wrong. Like, we figured this George Floyd protest would be completely peaceful and we wouldn't have a problem.
Right, because they don't have an issue with you.
Right. Why are they going to have an issue with us? We didn't do anything. We're not the Minneapolis Police Department.
Yeah.
And I think people were wildly in broad agreement that, at least from what they saw on the camera, it was really wrong.
Right. Now, yeah, there weren't cops going like...
There weren't cops going, yeah, that's how you do that.
Yeah, no. You could look at him and see that he was trying to show those protesters, like, you're not going to tell me how to do my job.
Right. It felt a little like that, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really didn't expect there to be a problem. Now, I realized I got down there, and Captain Jessica Bruce, we had a team that ran kind of protest activity, because we had a fair amount of it in the city. Now, generally what that means is we had 30 people stand on a corner with signs and flags and chant. So we didn't have like riot activity. We had the standard type of protest activity you get in a big city, especially a big international city that's home to a major news network. And So I get down there, and it was supposed to be 500 people because they put out a thing that morning through email saying, "Hey,
500 is a significant amount of people.
It's a good
That's
number
a good
of people."
number.
The problem was it was 3,000 people.
Oh. Do you guys have a bike unit?
Yeah, we needed one.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we did have a bike unit, and we also have a riot control team that
Hats
we
and
call
bats.
something much more sophisticated than that. That's for whatever
Ours
reason.
is directed response unit.
It's not that, but it's close.
Yeah.
We have one of those that wasn't there.
Okay.
So we don't have that ready to go, and it's going to matter here in a minute. We did have a bike team, so we were using soft tactics. You have to remember that Atlanta is the home of Martin Luther King. So at the end of the day, we had that very kind of civil rights protest type activity, and the Atlanta Police Department had always responded in the appropriate way because Atlanta integrated much more rapidly than anywhere else in the South. So the reason you don't hear about some Atlanta police chief and horrible things happening like you do with Bull Connor is Atlanta moved on from that and integrated much faster than other parts in the South, and we didn't have those kinds of problems. I say that to say this. We tended to underreact to protests, not overreact.
Right.
And so that's going to be a problem here in a minute.
Okay.
So all we had was some bike squad people and the people that worked for Zone 5. And normally this would have been fine. But you get the protesters went all the way down to the state capitol, and then they came all the way back, which they can basically do on one street. And at the tail end of them coming back, it just went completely wrong. Like the tone just completely changed. It went from peaceful protest to we are going to damage everything in sight, and we're going to start attacking police officers as a group.
Oh,
and
no.
by attacking, what I really mean was just like pushing through them, right? We had this bike patrol set up for them to go back in the park. They just start pushing through it. We ended up having to fall back tactically, get reset. Then we put out a help call because now this has gotten out of hand. We don't have any of the right equipment or the right people to deal with it. And of course, the
SWAT's here now.
but they wouldn't be there till 6 o'clock at night. So we had to hold for a while because SWAT had basically had a thing go on the previous night. And so they had all been permitted to go home because they had already had
They
a
needed
problem.
rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the worst part is we say we need help, like a normal help call goes out, but we weren't very organized and even telling people how to get there. So what ends up happening is you have this group of like 1,000 of the protesters make it halfway up the street to basically standing in front of both the Zone 5 precinct and CNN. Like where you see, if you look up CNN building, you'll see a sign where there's a large CNN there. And that's actually the entrance to CNN's headquarters. There's a food court at the bottom, but all you have to do is take an escalator up, and then you're immediately in CNN studios. And the cars that respond come from both sides. Well, what happens is we end up with a bunch of patrol cars that are surrounded by the protesters.
Oh, shit.
And every one of those gets burned to the ground.
Oh. The officers all got out. Okay.
Mm-hmm. When we realized that they had surrounded the cars, what we did is we kind of tactically took groups of people, and like if there was a shotgun or a rifle in the car, we got the equipment out of the cars, but there was no way we were going to be able to move the crowd without a riot control team.
Right.
Which we ended up getting from the Department of Corrections.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Damn. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Were they able to, did they even bother trying to backtrack and investigate who burned the cars?
Yes.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. No.
Oh, beautiful.
We had a ton of camera footage.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think they were able to identify, they may have gotten every single person that set a patrol car on fire.
Yeah. So listen up, y'all. You want to try to burn a car, you think you're hiding in a crowd, you're not hiding in a crowd. So, especially outside the CNN building.
It took several months, but yes, they found everyone. I mean, you have to remember that we had not used tear gas as a riot control tactic until that night.
Since the like 60s?
Since 1991 during the Rodney King riots.
Oh, shit. Damn. You weren't a cop during that time.
No.
Yeah.
I just was graduating from high school there. I'm not that old.
I was going to say that was a part of my studies, and I do remember it growing up. But you mention it to these cops now.
They don't even really know what it is.
They don't even know what it is.